Well, as I was telling the live audience, what we call the Wicked Senate, uh, this new breed of politicians that's out there fighting the good fight and going toe to toe with MAGA psychopaths, they were largely put in office as a reaction to the insanity that we've been experiencing since 2015. And the reality is, all that GOP insanity, it's just the mask off version of what these folks were doing anyway. We now have anti-trans hatred that is just rampant, and we have people talking about Jewish space lasers. Okay. But don't forget the strides that were made right before that, like, for example, legalizing gay marriage. Took us all the way till the 21st century, God help us. There had to be a force that was being fought against. It was the GOP. That is where America has had its evil tendencies represented. And the insanity that this new breed of politician, these young bucks who are out there racking up victories for the good guys, they're not going to go away. But I'll tell you, either in handcuffs or with heads hung low, MAGA will, because they are a clown show. But this new breed, these genuine progressives, these Democrats who actually know how to have a rough conversation and how to respond to the nonsense that we've been having to put up with for, 7 years now, 8 years now. They're here to stay. Let's have a look at, and this video, by the way, I believe submitted by our own Wicked Foxy Dragon. Thank you very much, Foxy. Let's have a look at how they're doing.
I don't know about you, Madam Speaker, but I know I go out to eat a whole lot less now than I did a few years ago because the cost, thanks to the president's administration's inflation, has either doubled or tripled at my favorite restaurants. And that means these folks are earning fewer tips from me, their usual customer.
This bill is only going to result in the cost of...
I mean, we got to let this guy get after it, but let's just be honest. That guy's not tipping. That's the kind of guy that writes something corny in the line that says tip, like, rotate your tires. That's who that is. And that's also the sort of person who would simultaneously insist that waiters and waitresses not get paid a living wage and instead must rely on his non-existent generosity.
Playing miniature golf to rise. Raising the minimum wage won't force corporate America to pay more. If large corporations aren't already raising their wage, they'll simply pass that cost on to consumers.
We keep hearing from folks that this is economically smart to have a starvation level wage. Maybe it is in some factory in another country where they're not paying workers what they ought to be paid. But here we should not say paying workers less than what they deserve is a part of a good economic strategy.
Boom.
It frankly makes no sense. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Love it.
Maria.
Also, let me add in my own 2 cents. Have a little pride in your country. I want to go talk about some countries around the world because a lot's cropped up in the UK that I want to talk about. Certainly, we're going to talk about Ukraine tonight. But Americans, have a little pride in your country. The way you ask the wait staff at a restaurant to live, that's the way you're saying that Americans should be forced to live. Do you really want to live in a country where the poorest among us are utter wretches, literally selling blood to get by? They call it plasma donating, but you sell it. They hook you up. You know I'm talking from experience. They hook you up to a machine. It pulls the blood out of your body, spins it around really fast so that plasma's taken out, and then pushes blood back into your body and keeps the plasma. And you can do that, if I recall correctly, when I was getting started in the news business, you can do that once every 2 weeks. And I have the scars in my arm forever. I look like a former heroin connoisseur. You have the scars in your arm forever if you do it enough to prove it. Is that really something that makes you proud of your country? It shouldn't. You should be embarrassed if people got to live like that, but they're still out there working in your country. Just a thought, but let's let these stars have their moment in the sun. Come on, they're kicking butt. They deserve it.
Antoinette, if she was still alive, would have loved so much of this debate. Because a lot of it really sums up as just let them eat cake.
Boom!
Who cares about the struggling workers who are at home right now who are really only asking one question?
Boom.
Why has it taken us this long?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Redeeming some of Pennsylvania's honor is Malcolm Kenyatta. Well done.
Why has it taken us
That
this
guy
long?
back there. Guy back there is loving it, and he should be. Yes, sir.
So many of the arguments that you've heard today, they are difficult to decipher because, in my opinion, Mr. Speaker, they don't make a lot of sense. So in one breath, you've heard, Mr. Speaker, from previous speakers that nobody pays the minimum wage. Everybody pays above the minimum wage. If that is true, then what fear do you have of raising the minimum wage?
Ah, yes, sir.
We've also heard, Mr. Speaker, that raising the minimum wage, the Chicken Little song and dance is out again, the sky is gonna fall, there will be no more jobs. Why hasn't that happened in West Virginia? Why hasn't that happened in Ohio?
Yes, sir.
Why hasn't that happened in Delaware? Why hasn't that happened in New Jersey?
Get him.
Why hasn't that happened in New York?
Woo.
Why haven't we seen our border states flooding in to Pennsylvania because we still pay $7.25, which really we should stop calling a minimum wage. It is a starvation level wage. It is unconscionable. It's unconscionable.
Yes,
a part of what drives our economy's growth is in large part consumer spending. What is going to happen if we raise the minimum wage? There are going to be a lot of folks who are going to actually have a little bit of wiggle room to go out and eat at that restaurant.
Now look, how long has it been since you have heard a politician who's genuinely making sense, who's making arguments that you can follow? It's not a bunch of jargon and nonsense. It's based in reality, talking about what will actually affect you. If you've got a small business, you should want the minimum wage raised. Because odds are, if your business is small, your customers are the sort of folks who will have more money to spend with you if the minimum wage gets raised. Unless you're out there selling if you have a Lexus dealership, maybe not. Maybe you won't directly benefit. But yes, Malcolm Kenyatta from Pennsylvania's, I didn't see what district, 100, I don't know, from Pennsylvania. Beautifully put. Excellent argument. And in my opinion, quite correct. He is one of many. We got the Tennessee 3. We got folks in the squad. In my district, we have Rashida Tlaib. In New York, we've got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. In Florida, we've got Maxwell Frost. We've got John Fetterman. Oh my God, in New Jersey? Yeah, I think he's in New Jersey. We have a new breed of politician that's out there kicking ass. These folks, by and large, are going to get reelected because they're doing a damn good job. And the other folks have the burden, the folks he's speaking out against right there, have the burden of trying to sell their voters on more misery. Whereas this gentleman is offering a path out, and he is able to articulate the case, and he's actually sincere about it, and that makes all the difference. Those are not the arguments you make if you're a centrist Dem who's trying to please your donors who would very much like American slavery to continue. Wage slavery, where you're paid a pittance. This is a great sign, folks, and a wonderful suggestion.
Somebody's going to be able to buy the basic supplies and necessities, which is what most low-wage workers do. They invest that money right back into their communities, buying things like food for their families, buying things like clothes for their kids who are getting ready to go back to school. I know they just got out, but parents are waiting for them to go back into school very soon.
Yes, indeed.
We know that right now we're in a position to do what has not been done in this body. And today you're hearing from the minority party all the things that we could do in lieu of raising the minimum wage that could help low-wage workers. You had over a decade, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you do it? But now when we're bringing up...
Good God, I'm showing my ignorance. The man's a senator? He's a senator and he's talking like this? That's a real good sign. That's a better sign than I was even saying. I was talking about House members before. That's good. That's real good.
Up an actual solution. You have all the part-time economists who want to come in and tell us what this is going to do for our economy. What this is going to do, plain and simple, is to say that every job has a level of dignity, and that dignity should be reflected in the paycheck.
Beautiful.
That dignity should be reflected in the paycheck. And I want to make one final point, Mr. Speaker, when we talk about the economy. The economy is not this amorphous thing that we are just supposed to be here at the altar of. The economy is people. The economy that we're talking about is people. People who right now, too often than not, don't even have enough savings to cover an accident on their car or a medical expense should it happen. People who've had to work more than one job because $725 is not nearly enough. People who are sick and tired of politicians promising to do something and never delivering. Well, guess what? House Democrats are delivering. I urge a yes vote.
Okay, correction again. Never mind, it's worse than I thought. He's a state representative. But still. Those are the kind of voices that you're seeing. I thought he was a little young to be a senator. That you're seeing throughout the country. That has been the extraordinarily positive reaction to the MAGA terrorist branch of the GOP criminal organization. I gotta tell you, in this era of actually holding politicians accountable because they just gave us no choice, sad that this is why, sad that that the Department of Justice had to be forced to act because otherwise wasn't going to exist anymore. But in this era where you're actually seeing consequences for the despicable behavior that the GOP has put on for its entire existence, the lawlessness of MAGA, reaction has been positive on the political front, and you're just not going to see in this era of honest politics. It's hard for me to even fathom those folks sticking around forever and ever. They're already, look at how desperate they are. Look at what the death of the Republican Party looks like. It looks like Jewish space lasers, lady. It looks like Lauren Boebert arguing with her on the House floor. It looks like Republicans making wild accusations and then being unable to produce the witnesses they said their case hinged on. That's what the death of the Republican Party looks like. And that space is not being filled by a different kind of evil. It's being filled by what we actually needed, which is politicians that are trying to help. A wild idea, I know. They're actually trying to help, and God bless them. Well done, Pennsylvania State Representative Malcolm Kenyatta. That was by that piece, by the way, was by TYT Investigates, a fantastic branch of the Young Turks. And thank you, Wicked Foxy Dragon, for the suggestion. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say.